Hey there, Julia Gentry here. And this week, we are actually going to talk about the dreaming process from a very different angle that I've talked about in a long time, actually. And it was stimulated based upon working with a client who said, I'm living the dream, I don't need your book. Or, I'm living the dream, now what? Or, I'm successful and I have all of the things that everybody said I should have, the house, the car, the 2.5 kids, money in the bank, like on paper and around me, everything is successful, and yet I feel unfulfilled. Has anyone ever been there before? Well, we're going to talk about that today. What do you do when you have what you've dreamed of? What do you do when what you wanted is your reality? What do you do when you feel successful but are unfulfilled? And I think that this is a part of life that the narrative of our world doesn't really focus in on, but is so important, whether you're at this phase or not. So if you're like, well, that's not me, Julia, I'm not living my dream, this video is not for me, wrong. What I'm going to share with you today is going to help no matter which side of the bus that you're on. But I think that nobody really talks to us about the point of life other than the whole idea of living the American dream, becoming successful, and you're going to have all the happiness in the world. Come to find out, it's a bill of goods and it's not working. So we're going to talk about this today. And it's funny because this is actually where my husband and I we admit that our journey started. And for those of you who are new to following me, or you just want the story again because it's cray, here we go. This was back years ago when we had finally gotten ourselves out of debt from our first business. We were back onto the American dream. We had bought the house, renovated it, and fixed it up. We had the 2.5 kids, right? Like, we were successful on paper. I was doing coaching. My husband was doing real estate investing, and we were successful. And yet we both found ourselves crawling into bed at night asking a very simple and yet profound question, which was, is there something more? Which was what most of us start to think, right? Even if you have not achieved your goals, you probably wondered that. And even if you found yourself having achieved your goals and achieving your dreams, still going, but am I missing something? Like, is there something more? The answer is yes. I'm not going to make you wait to the end of the video or like fill out a form or drop a like or subscribe. Or yes, the answer is yes. Is there something more? Yes. But what? Right? And Tony Robbins says this, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. And it is actually really true. But for most of us, what we don't realize is that we're building towards something thinking that it is the thing, only realizing that it's not, that there's more to this life, and what is it? So where we get stuck in this mindset actually comes from, actually a perfect example of this is from Maslow's hierarchy. And he was a gentleman way back when who basically said, here's kind of the art of psychology at the heart of pursuit, right? Like, here is how we as humans unconsciously approach the world. Now, whoever doesn't know of Maslow's hierarchy or of Maslow, regardless of what you think about him, the concept is brilliant and is something worth looking at, because what he actually identified is that we almost have this like pyramid of needs that have to be met in order to go to the next level, right? And in order, what we're finding is at the bottom of this pyramid, he had listed safety, security, stability. And what that means is that these human needs for us is basically the desire as a human is to know, like, look, am I safe as a human? Am I secure as a person? Am I in a place of security? Meaning, do I live in a safe place? Do I have a roof over my head? Do I have water, right? Can I reproduce with the opposite sex? Can I count on a paycheck? Do I know that when I wake up tomorrow, I'm going to have food on the table? Like, these are our core needs as humans. And sometimes for a lot of us, those things just come naturally. And for others of us, unfortunately, we still wonder about all of those things. But what happens is we start to fixate so much on our safety, security, stability needs that's what we continue to get, right? So many of us are focused on, putting food on the table, and then we wonder why we're only putting food on the table. or we're, not feeling very safe and secure. And so we continue to focus on safety and security needs, wondering why we're not actualizing, right? Why we're not manifesting something bigger. Well, the idea here is that once you have them, you should progress to the next level based upon whatever you're focused on, right? So if I'm just chasing safety, security, stability, guess what I'm going to get? Safety, security, stability. Once you graduate from those needs and you start to realize, I'm safe, I'm secure, I'm stable as a person, then you actually start to branch out into some of our community needs, right? This is love and belonging. This is the ability to go, oh man, now that I personally know that I'm safe and secure and roof over my head and money in the bank and all the things that now I can actually go do community. Well, once I'm in committed relationships, once I have found community, then I actually will go to the next level, which is called success, which means now I can achieve things, I can make more money, I can have more goals, I can have more dreams, right? I can add things to my vision board. And then there's the icing on top, which he calls actualization. It's the idea that I actually can see my purest potential actualized in every area. All of it is manifested. And so what Maslow suggests is that you can't have actualization without safety, security, stability. And until you have safety, security, and stability, you can't really engage in committed relationships, which means then it's hard to really achieve, which means then you'll never actualize. And so what happens is we start to think unconsciously that I need to have this in order to have this, and need to have this in order to have this, and so forth, which is why we're not probably actualizing in this life, which is why we're not showing up being the best version of us, which is why we're not hitting our success goals or achieving the things that we set out in the beginning of the year. This might be why, because we're focused on safety, security, stability, or we're focused on what other people think of us. We're focused so much on just people and people liking us that we aren't actually able to get up a rung, if you will, on the pyramid and achieve greater things in this life. And then once we get to this place of achievement, this is what we're talking about today. Now I'm actually successful. I'm achieving the things that I want to be achieving. I'm doing the things that I want to be doing. But why am I not fulfilled? Well, come to find out, it's because there's also this thing called actualization. It's potential realized that is part of fulfillment. Now, the interesting thing about success metrics and fulfillment metrics is that success metrics can be measured, right? Like make $1 million, check. Lose 30 pounds, check, right? Sell my business, check. Buy a business, check. We can check these things off of our list. Success can be measured. It can be mirrored. It can be modeled. Fulfillment is super individualized. It's super personal. And it can't be measured, but it can surely be felt. It's almost like if you're in a committed, passionate relationship and in a marriage that is working, you couldn't just check the box. You just know when you have it and you know when you don't, right? It's even again, we could have all the things on paper, nice house, nice car, money in the bank, check, check, check. But we know when we're not fulfilled. And fulfillment comes because we're actually realizing potential. We're consciously pulling the possibilities that at one point seemed impossible into our today. We're doing the things that were super impossible yesterday, doing them today, and that is what creates fulfillment because we're connected to something bigger than us. We're now dreaming, if you will, about things that are bigger than us, and it's causing our potential to be realized, and it's causing growth to happen, and it's taking me out of my comfort zone of safety, security, stability through the lens of don't care what people think, past the idea of just achievement for achievement's sake, and it's actually revealing me to me. This is what dreaming is all about. So most people, when they hear of my book or they see all the stuff about dreaming, they think they know what it is. I've got a dream board and I've got all... No, I know that you think it's what you think it is, but it ain't what you think it is. You're like, what does that mean? It's so much bigger than that. And in the book, I even say that I've completely redefined what the word means. And it actually means deep, and it means deep and intense thought, in a totally different realm that brings about possibilities while considering the needs of those around us. That is potential realized. It's the ability to go past the desire for just another nice car, which is cool, or a nice house, or traveling the world, all of those things. And it goes even deeper to the most vulnerable things that you didn't think were possible. And it starts to position your heart and your mind to go, that actually might be possible. And not because I've ever experienced it, and not because there's this how-to guide to achieve it, and not because I even know what to do next. And in fact, it kind of makes me nervous and a little insecure because I have no idea what I'm doing. That's what I'm talking about. That's fulfillment. When you step out of your comfort zone and you dive deeper into the relationships, and you dive deeper into potential, and you dive deeper into the impossible, and you start to realize that life isn't just about security and stability. It's not just about connection with other people, though that's great. It's not even just about achieving and checking one more thing off the box. It's designed for us to bring heaven to earth. It's designed for us to make the impossible possible. It's designed for us to go further, faster, not to prove ourselves, but because we can't not. And let's be honest, that's hard to do. That's hard to understand what that zone is. And for many of us, instead of leaning in, we call it a midlife crisis, and we chalk it up as, we're just in our 40s or 50s. And it's part of like, no, this happened to me when I was 29 years old and hasn't stopped. Why? Because I don't want to be here just to get by. I don't want to live my life through the lens of what other people think. I don't want my life just to be a big goal list and a checklist of things that I can do in my own power and in my own strength and in my own timetable and my own ways. No, I actually want to live a life that's bigger than me, that requires other people, that causes me to break so I can heal, that allows me to live with my heart wide open and to start chasing the things that actually pull out the purest potential. That is fulfillment. That is what it's all about. You're like, well, that kind of sounds hard. Well, yeah, but so is the other. So is the other. Just pursuing safety, security, stability is hard. Living your life through the lens of what other people think is hard. Just chasing success and not really totally feeling satisfied is hard. It's all hard. You got to pick your hard. So what I'm suggesting now about this great principle that Maslow proposes, which is, here's what you got to do in order to know. I'm saying that we actually need to live from the top down. I'm suggesting that we actually need to live from heaven to earth. I'm suggesting that we actually need to be dreaming God-sized dreams, not for the sake of big, but for the sake of transformation in our lives and in this world. And we need to be living from the top down, even if some of these other needs aren't met. Because in theory, if I'm actually living from the top down, then I have a totally different mindset about how I'm going to go about my relationships, how I'm going to go about safety, security, stability. Like I have a different perspective about how I'm going to do life. And so what I want to leave you with today is, again, not this answer, but is this opportunity to rethink this. And if you're out there going, man, I've achieved my dreams, now what? Or, I have kind of what I wanted, now what? Or I'm successful but not fulfilled, lean in. Now's the time to ask big open-ended questions like, okay, if there's something more, then where can I start? Or, here's all the things that I've done within my own strength. What's possible that's bigger than me? Or if I were to actually live from heaven to earth, making the impossible possible, what would I start to chase? Or because I know that I was made for more, what does more feel like? What does more look like? Quality of our questions will determine the quality of our answers. And so instead of asking, is there more? Because the brain might tell you, no, there's not. I want to invite you to the idea that there is more. And now the question is really, are you in? The question is, will you actually start looking from the top down as opposed to the bottom up? And will you realize that you aren't just here for success? You're here for actualized potential. You're here for the purest form of you to show up, bringing all of you and letting heaven do the rest. So today I encourage you, don't just live from the bottom up. Live from vision. Live from significance. Live from a place of fulfillment, and don't settle for anything less than that. So if at first you don't succeed, try again, right? So if you don't have the answer immediately, ask the question again in a different angle. If you don't know exactly what fulfillment will feel like, sit with it longer. If you don't know how to answer any of the questions that I propose, listen to this again and again and again until one day it comes to you. This is what you were born for. This is what you were made for. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want videos that are going to encourage you, challenge you, and support you in going from where you are to where you've never been. And know that what got you to where you are surely isn't going to take you to where you've never been. Then you're not going to want to forget